Hi everyone, so today I wanted to talk about vegan cold weather and winter motorcycle gear, which is a topic I'm sure very few of you are interested in. But there are vegan motorcyclists, and some of us do like to ride in the winter or cold weather, so if that interests you, then keep watching. And I know for me personally, when I first started getting into motorcycling as a vegan, it's really difficult just finding vegan motorcycle gear in general, but it gets even more difficult when you're looking in niche areas like, vegan winter motorcycle gear. And even when you get lucky and, you find a forum somewhere or a vegan motorcyclist Facebook group, when they recommend gear, it's usually just pure garbage. It's low quality crap that's unsafe. So today I'm going to show you gear that's good quality, that's safe. Some of the stuff, actually most of it, is stuff that I've used personally. I have a lot of experience riding in cold weather, so I think I know a bit of what I'm talking about. So we'll start from the bottom and work our way up. We'll start with boots and keeping your feet warm. So there's a lot of vegan motorcycle boots on the market now. A lot of the industry is actually shifting towards synthetic. So Alpinestars, CV, TCX, a lot of those big companies, they actually make vegan motorcycle boots. So if you already have a pair of vegan motorcycle boots, chances are with just a few tricks you can get them, winter appropriate. A lot of boots, they have really thick material, so they insulate fairly well. So I find what happens is only my toes really get cold, and a really cheap solution for that is these toe warmers. So they're just made out of neoprene. There's no heated element, but they just slip right over your toes. And this extra layer of neoprene is oftentimes enough in cold weather to just stop your toes from freezing, and then the rest of your foot is just fine because a lot of boots, whether they're vegan or not, they're thick enough, they have a lot of padding, so they give you enough insulation. It's just your toes that tend to get cold. So that's a good solution. You can also get heated elements for your feet, so you can either get heated socks. I don't really recommend those. They don't heat up very well and they tend to just burn you. So I would recommend heated soles. Gears, the company Gears, they actually make a really good heated sole that can connect directly into the 12-volt coax accessory port in your bike if you have one of those. So they don't require any batteries, they'll never run out. So that's a really good option there. Now, if you're totally new to motorcycling and or if you just want a winter kind of specific or focused boot, I would recommend getting the Alpinestars Radon boots. So, totally vegan, 100% synthetic, no leather on the boot. One thing you do have to be really careful about when looking for boots is a lot of the time the manufacturers won't mention that there's leather in the boots and they'll only mention that there's synthetic in here. So you always want to check with the manufacturer, always email them to ask, like, is there any leather in the boot? I contacted the company. I also saw some product pages that, said these are only synthetic. So I can say with 100% certainty these are synthetic boots. So just make sure you really do research and check because you could accidentally buy some leather boots. Now, good thing about these, for one thing, is they're fairly cheap as far as motorcycle boots go. I only paid $260 Canadian for them. And for that price, you do get a pretty high quality boot. The sole is pretty stiff. Now, it doesn't have much rigidity up top here, so you can't really expect to, protect you much when it comes to overextension of your heel. It doesn't really have much rigidity either, so it's not really going to protect you against crushing forces. So if your bike lands on top of you, it's probably not going to do much, but the material is thick enough. It has some, extra plastic coating, on the heel, on the toe, on the shin, where, it will protect you from abrasion quite well. So the material's thick, has some extra abrasion resistance added onto it. Just won't protect you much from crushing forces, but comparing this to other boots around this price range, this is really good. really high quality boot. It's also waterproof, and that's actually one of the reasons why it's quite good in cold weather. This has a waterproof liner on the inside that isn't particularly breathable, so it insulates heat quite well. And if you just use these with toe warmers, chances are you won't even need any heated elements unless maybe you're riding in really, really cold weather, like, you know, sub -10 degrees. But in sub-zero temperatures, for the most part, these boots with just some toe warmers, and it's good enough. It'll keep your feet warm. And again, if you're an ADV or dual sport rider and you already have a pair of big, chunky motocross or dirt bike boots, these are usually enough to keep you warm in cold weather just because they're so huge. So these are the TCX Comp Evo Michelin boots. Again, I contacted the company to make sure, but these are 100% vegan, no leather. And as you can see, these are massive. And if you compare them to the Alpinestars Radon boots, these are a lot larger. These have the added benefit of, like, again, being way more rigid. They don't really squeeze in so well, so they're really good for protecting you against crushing forces. These boots are, like, over twice as expensive as the Alpinestars boots, so keep that in mind. But again, you know, if you're riding in cold weather with these, usually just these little toe warmers will be good enough to keep your feet warm. And if you're really sensitive to the cold, again, you can just get some heated soles to put in these. So for pants, I would recommend the Alpinestars Andes V2 Drystar pants. You can't see the entire pant here, but I'll just show an image on screen so you can see the entire pant. Now, these aren't too expensive. You can spend insane amounts of money on motorcycle pants, like upwards of $1,000. These are around $300 Canadian. I think sometimes they go on sale for cheaper. So not too bad as far as motorcycle pants go. These are also quite warm, so these have a removable thermal liner that you can see right here. And these are waterproofed. They use Alpinestars' Drystar membrane. And unlike something that's really high quality like Gortex, it doesn't really breathe very well, but if you're looking for something in cold weather, that's really good because you don't want it to breathe really well. You want it to insulate a lot. So these are fairly warm pants because not only do they have a thermal liner that is removable, so if you're in warmer weather, you can remove this, but it also has this waterproof membrane that locks in more heat. So these are quite warm. I've had these for about 2 years. I've ridden in a lot of cold weather. I think the worst I've ever been in was like -20 degrees, and these still kept my my legs warm. They didn't totally freeze. It was cold, but they didn't totally freeze. Just the other day, I was riding on the highway in -2 degrees. I got up to like 150 kilometers. It's going a little too fast, but again, these kept my legs totally warm, very comfortable, no issues. They also come with armor, so they come with knee armor. It's just padded knee armor and hip protectors. One thing I will warn you with is these do fit a bit small. So I'm wearing a double XL here. I don't know what the waist is. Let me see. I don't know what the waist is, but I'm 6'3". The double XL was a bit small for me. I'm 6'3", muscular build. These fit a bit small. I think a 3XL or maybe even a 4XL. I might even have to go up to a 4XL for these to fit properly. These fit a bit tight. It's not unusable, but they do fit a bit tight. So if you're looking for these and you're taller or have a bit of a muscular build, or maybe you're a bit fat, you might want to size up because they do fit a bit small. And those are just the pants that I wear and I recommend. There are a lot of vegan-friendly pants that are good in cold weather. If you want to do your own research online and look for pants, it's very easy. You know, if you look for just textile, so like sites like Revzilla, Fort9, you can just look for textile waterproof pants. Just be careful because a lot of brands, a lot of manufacturers, they do still add leather to their textile pants in high wear zones or where the pant might contact the engine or the exhaust. So just be careful. Most of these textile waterproof pants are vegan, but some do contain leather. So if you're gonna look online, just be careful of that. And next up is the jacket. So what I use personally is an Icon Merc jacket. I got this because when I first got my motorcycle, I bought all my gear at once, and, you know, if you buy all your gear at once, it's kind of expensive, so I just went with something cheaper. This is definitely a cold weather biased jacket. It's pretty thick, you can tell by the hoodie. You know, it's cold weather biased. And this is a really cheap jacket. I think right now these go for around 160 Canadian. So if you're looking for something that's cheaper, that, again, is like decent quality, I'd say get this jacket. Does come with D3O armor, back protector, shoulder protector, elbow protector. It's not waterproof. I'd say it's water resistant. So it doesn't soak up water like crazy, but if you're in the rain for long enough, you will get wet. It's got like a Napoleon pocket. It's got just pockets on the outside. Whoops. But it's not a bad jacket, it's just not that great. So if you want to go for something cheaper, this is okay, the Icon Merc. I would recommend, if you want a good quality jacket that's waterproof, that's better, that's probably also a bit warmer, go for the Alpinestars Andy V2 Drystar jacket. So not only does that have waterproofing, has an actual thermal liner, whereas this Icon jacket doesn't. So, you know, it's just going to be warmer than this jacket. It's going to be waterproof. It also matches with the Drystar pants I just showed you, and it's just overall higher quality. So if you want something better, go for the Alpinestars jacket. And again, just like with pants, there's just a ton of vegan-friendly motorcycle jackets. So if you search for textile waterproof jackets on any of these motorcycle supply websites like Revzilla or Fortnine, you'll find a ton of vegan-friendly jackets. Just be a little careful because sometimes they do still put leather in high wear zones, like on the elbow or you know, impact zones. So just be careful with that. It doesn't usually happen, but just be on the lookout for it. Also, some people are just really sensitive to the cold, and because you're on a motorcycle traveling at high speed, no matter what jacket you wear, no matter how many layers you put on, you might still get cold. I'm fine just with a sweater, a t-shirt, and you know, that cheaper Icon jacket, but my wife, no matter what she wears, no matter how well she bundles up, she still gets cold. So if you're one of those people who are really sensitive to the cold, get a heated vest. There's a lot of different brands and makes. I just get one that plugs directly into your motorcycle's battery. The Gears brand is quite good, but you know, you can find a lot of different ones. Just make sure you get a vest that plugs directly into the motorcycle's battery. Those batteries, like the battery-powered ones that are portable, they don't last very long. You want something that plugs directly into the motorcycle's battery. Otherwise, it just won't last. Now, for keeping your hands warm on a motorcycle in sub-zero temperatures, you absolutely need to have some sort of heating element on your hands and protection from the wind. Doesn't matter what gloves you wear, you could be wearing the thickest, chunkiest mitts possible. If you're going at high speed on a motorcycle in sub-zero temperatures, your hands are going to end up freezing, no matter what gloves you're wearing. So if you're going to do, you know, riding in really cold weather, sub-zero temperatures, use heated grips and use muffs to protect you from the wind. So the heated grips I recommend are the Koso Apollo heated grips. They're a bit more expensive than other heated grips on the market, but the benefit with these is you can control the temperature on the grip itself. There's no extra control dial. That not only makes it look a lot cleaner and nicer on your bike, but it's also a lot safer to adjust the temperature while you're riding. You don't have to take your hands off the controls. So really good grips. I've used those on two of my bikes, the Zero FX and the new Kawasaki Vulcan S I've gotten, and they're great. They heat up extremely hot. Again, I was on the highway the other day, traveling really fast, too fast, and they kept my hands so warm that it actually felt like they were burning. They were like getting too hot. So really good heated grips. The muffs that I recommend are the Givi Universal muffs. I've used those on my Zero FX, my Suron, and the Kawasaki Vulcan S. It fit, so the universal fitment, it does work. I don't even think you really need hand guards to make these work. My Kawasaki Vulcan doesn't have hand guards, but it doesn't get in the way of any of the controls. They don't slope down. So really good muffs. They work fine. There's tons of muffs on the market, so you can go with anything you want, but Those are the heated grips I recommend. Those are the muffs I recommend. I've used them myself. They work really well. They keep my hands super warm and toasty. Now, I don't recommend getting liners. So there's heated liners that you can get. They're a waste of money. They're overpriced. They're really crappy quality. They break super easy, and they don't even really work. You'll often feel that they don't really warm up, and you might feel these really hot spots that can burn your hands. So they suck. Don't get those. I'm also not aware of any vegan heated motorcycle gloves. So I've never seen any vegan motorcycle gloves that have hard, like knuckle protection, palm slider, and that can connect to your bike's battery. Haven't seen those. If anybody's aware of them, tell me about it. I haven't seen those, so I don't think those are a viable option. The heated grips work fantastic with the muffs, so just go with those. And you still want some warm motorcycle gloves, so my first recommendation are these 5 WX2 motorcycle gloves. So they are meant for the winter. They're nice and warm and soft. They have an insulated liner here. They also have some like fuzzy stuff on the inside that's really warm and comfortable. They have hard knuckle protection. They also have a nice big, thick, beefy palm slider. So these are fairly safe. Again, if you're gonna use these on a MotoGP track and you crash at like 300 kilometers an hour, obviously these are going to tear, but under normal riding conditions, these do offer you a decent amount of protection. And I can say these are fairly warm. I rode these on the highway, -2 degrees, and with the heated grips that I have and the handguard muffs, my hands were super, super toasty. So they're totally fine for cold weather, high speed. Problem is, they don't make these anymore. They've been discontinued, so your only hope of finding these is if you find old stock somewhere. So, that kind of sucks. It's very hard to find winter-specific motorcycle gloves that actually have some level of protection, so I always look for hard knuckle protection and ideally a palm slider. The only thing that I've been able to find that really fits that are these Rukka Virium gloves. So these are a bit expensive because they contain Gortex. Gortex is 100% waterproof, and you get a lifetime guarantee with Gortex, so that's why they're so expensive. But they work for waterproofing. Now, the issue with Gortex is it is sort of breathable. It's not like other cheaper membranes where they really only insulate, they don't breathe. Gortex breathes. In warm weather, that's a good thing because these gloves don't get super hot in warm weather. But in the winter, you don't want the glove to breathe. You want it to ideally not really breathe at all so that your hand just stays warm. So these breathe. That means they're not great for cold weather. They're also not great for warm weather. Gore-Tex is still a bit stuffy. So this is sort of an all-season glove. It's not really a winter glove, but it gets the job done as long as you're using heated grips and handguard muffs. I'd say under most riding conditions, unless you're crazy like me and you go out at in -15-degree weather, you're probably going to be okay using these gloves with heated grips and handguard muffs. Now, if you are riding in really extreme weather and maybe you're just sensitive to the cold, another option for you is you can either get these gloves, you can wear any riding gloves you want really, but wear a Klim over glove with that. The Klim over glove is like a lobster-style glove. It fits over any glove you want. It is expensive because, again, it uses Gore-Tex, but it is a 100% waterproof option, and it will help to keep your hands warm. So those are really the best options in terms of price, performance, protection. I've looked online a lot at gloves, and you can find stuff that's warmer than this, but it doesn't offer you really any protection. So those are the best options I could really find online right now. If you're vegan and you're looking for gloves, you're kind of screwed. There's really not a lot of options, unfortunately. It's easy to find boots, pants, jackets, whatever. It's just gloves that there's still a problem. You could go for some vegan snowmobile gloves. Problem with that is they don't have any protection. They don't have hard knuckle protection or a palm slider, so if you hit the ground, even at low speed, you can really F up your hands, and they don't really have any abrasion resistance. They're not really meant for that, so they're not the best option in terms of protection. And keeping your head warm in the winter is pretty easy. Helmets, they just naturally have a lot of insulation. You have like multiple layers of foam here. You've got a big plastic shell, so they're good at trapping heat in. Just make sure, you have a helmet where you can close the ventilation. You don't want a lot of cool air running through the helmet, so close the ventilation in your helmet. If your helmet doesn't have ventilation that can be closed with a button, maybe put tape over it on the inside. That should keep a lot of the cool air from coming in. Other than that, try and get a helmet that has a wind curtain at the chin. That will also help keep cool air out. And you'll also likely want to wear a balaclava. So this is the Klim Covert balaclava. I'll put it on so you know what it looks like. So Klim Covert balaclava. This is a really good one. It just fits to your head quite nicely, so it doesn't feel uncomfortable. It's soft. It has holes here, so you don't have to just breathe through the material. You can easily breathe. Also has this long piece here that you can just put under your sweater. Again, to kind of act as a scarf to prevent wind from getting into your coat, through your neck. So that's another thing you just want to wear to keep your head warm, and on top of that, you might also just want to wear a scarf. But pretty easy to keep your head warm. These balaclavas can be really cheap, but I'd recommend the Klim Covert balaclava just because of how comfortable it is. And one other thing to mention with balaclavas is you want to make sure you want to get a thin balaclava. So these Klim balaclavas, they're meant to fit over, like, inside a motorcycle helmet. If you get a balaclava that's really, really thick, your helmet isn't going to fit properly. It's going to fit too snug and be uncomfortable. So, again, another reason to go with, like a Klim or a Climb, I don't know how you pronounce it, balaclava that's meant for a motorcycle. So that's it. That's all of the vegan cold weather and winter motorcycle gear that I can think of. If any vegan motorcyclists are watching this, tell me what equipment you use. If you know of any other good winter gear, leave a comment, especially gloves. I'm always interested to see if anyone knows of any good vegan motorcycle gloves because they're really hard to find. And if you have any questions, need any help, I'll try to answer your comment. And as always, keep making those vegan motorcycle gains.